Been talking a lot about the offseason. We've been talking about the coaching search, the hiring of DeMeco Ryans, talking about the draft. We're going to talk about free agency. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but let's just fast forward through it all. And let's go to the first regular season game for the Houston Texans and the first regular season game of the DeMeco Ryans era and what the ideal matchup when it comes to buzz would be. It is the Locker Room, number one source for daily Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610, the official home of the Texans. We got you covered. We got this squad covered. And it's a very fun time to cover this squad amidst the most exciting offseason in franchise history. DeMeco Ryans, there's going to be a lot of people excited. I'm hoping that his first game is a home game. Tailgates have been dead lately. We judge tailgates before each game. The stands have been empty lately. I anticipate that changes a little bit. There is going to be an increase, and I'm hoping the Texans open the season at home. In a perfect world, I would love to see that. I would love to see a full stadium, and I would love to see a lot of buzz. I would love to see a lot of buzz generated because, quite frankly, appropriately so, the Texans haven't got much national attention. And typically when you throw them on national TV, you just throw them on Thursday Night Football or something like that. And you just kind of hide them because everybody has to have that one game. Nobody wants to watch the Texans outside of Houston, and hopefully that changes. The matchups that, if they open the season against these teams, kind of a little bit of a snooze fest. The Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals got a new coach in Jonathan Gannon. Kyler Murray, if you play him early, he's not going to play. Maybe that's the ideal matchup if you're looking for a win. Doesn't do much for me buzz-wise. New Orleans Saints, probably better football team, but Tampa Bay without Tom Brady, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, I know it's the old Oilers. I know that the Titans and Texans have a little bit of beef, but I could do without starting the season against the Titans. And then you have Atlanta, Carolina, blah, and Baltimore and Cincinnati, which are good teams heading in the right direction. But I don't want to open the season against those. I don't think that generates the most buzz. So let's get to the top 5 list. The ideal games for DeMeco Ryans to begin his tenure in the DeMeco Ryans era to begin. Put yours in the comments, by the way. Subscribe, like, right along with me. Tonight, by the way, we're going to have a cram session on the offseason with Crumpy, John Crumpler. I think he does a good job breaking down the X's and O's and localizing stuff. The best, one of the best at doing it online. So we're going to have John Crumpler. We're going to talk about some things. Join us live tonight, 7 o'clock Central. And we're live probably 3 times a week, 2 or 3 times a week. Tonight, we're going to go with Crumpy. Number 5 most buzzworthy matchup for the Houston Texans in the beginning of the DeMeco Ryans era, the Jags. We've seen the Texans open up against the Jags a couple of times in recent memory. We all remember the 2017 season opener. I think Jacksonville had 10 or 11 sacks. I was at this game. Tom Savage started, much to the dismay of many. It was the debut of Deshaun Watson. The Jags ended up winning that game. I think it was 21-7. And after the game, you had the Jalen Ramsey, Deshaun should have been in the whole game quote that we use a lot. Deshaun ended up starting that Thursday night, but Jacksonville got the best of the Texans. Also have the most recent one, 2021 David Culley game, where David Culley, his debut, Texans actually won that game. Really wasn't even close. Urban Meyer kind of ended up being a worse coach than David Culley, believe it or not, as bad as David Culley was. But there is a history of opening against the Jags. This one would be symbolic because you'd have a team in a rebuild and the Texans facing the standard right now in the AFC South. Now, Tennessee might take exception with me saying that this soon, given that Jacksonville was the worst team in the league the 2 previous years, but Jacksonville won the division. They won a playoff game. You'd get to see probably your young quarterback, assuming the Texans take one, taking on Trevor Lawrence, and you'd have Doug Peterson versus DeMeco Ryans. I think there'd be a lot of excitement there, and we've seen that matchup to start the season a couple of times. Next one, the New York Jets. Now, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be with the New York Jets. But we do know that New York is going to generate buzz. The Jets are going to generate buzz. It's going to generate attention. They're kind of they're in an interesting year for Robert Saleh. You got to think they got to get into the playoffs. They're got to make some sort of progress. You're going to have the New York buzz. Robert Saleh is one of DeMeco Ryans' mentors. It would be a road game, road challenge, similar styles, opening the season in New York. I think that would be really exciting at number 4. Number 3, the Indianapolis Colts. Opened the season last year against the Colts. It ended in a tie. The Indianapolis thing would be interesting because you have 2 teams in the same division. You have 2 first-time head coaches in Shane Steichen and DeMeco Ryans. And DeMeco interviewed with the Texans and turned down the interview with the Indianapolis Colts after. We found out from Nick Caserio that DeMeco had actually told him that he wanted to be here. So you got to think there's something to that. Texans also interviewed Shane Steichen. There's a lot of Texans fans that believe that Shane Steichen should have been the hire here just because they wanted to go offensive minded. So you have that. You have the beginning of 2 different coaching eras. You probably are going to have 2 young quarterbacks. I don't think the Colts are going to go the veteran route again. They've been doing that long enough. So it could be the start of something special. DeMeco Ryans versus Shane Steichen, quarterback versus quarterback in a division game to open the season. So that is number 3. Number 2, Denver. The Denver Broncos are coming to town. There's going to be a lot of drama and speculation around Russell Wilson. Is Russell Wilson broken, or can Sean Payton fix Russell Wilson? The return of Sean Payton, the Denver debut of Sean Payton, guy who the Texans interviewed. There's been a lot of things said about the Texans, courtesy of Colin Cowherd. I don't know if it's on behalf of Sean Payton, but he is kind of a Sean Payton mouthpiece. So you would get to see Sean Payton versus DeMeco Ryans, and then Russell Wilson, the ghost of Russell Wilson, and it would be at home. It would be rowdy. It would be incredible. And there's that. The number 1, it's not even close. And I think this is what the NFL should do. We got a little taste of it last year. Now, the guy was rusty. It was his first game back, and it wasn't really a team that too many people were proud of. It was probably the best environment that we had at NRG last year, but the Texans were a bad football team. And Deshaun Watson wasn't fresh. Texans versus Cleveland Browns. Who says no? DeMeco Ryans, first game against a quarterback who at one time, for a long time, for an extended period of time, was the entire hope of getting to the promised land. Now you have the new face of the franchise in DeMeco Ryans taking on Deshaun Watson to start the season in NRG. It's probably going to be sold out game 1. People are going to be feeling as good about this Texans team as they felt in a long time. There's going to be passion. There's going to be intensity. Deshaun Watson returns to NRG for the second time against DeMeco Ryans. Who says no? That is max buzz right there. It would be, I got to think this would be probably the loudest that we've seen that stadium since probably the last time that Deshaun Watson won a football game. Or no, not the last time he won a game, but the last time that the Texans won a playoff game, and the last time he won a meaningful football game against Buffalo in the 2020 postseason, or 2019, but 2020 was the year. That's my number 1 choice. Texans versus Browns. Deshaun Watson returns. He takes on DeMeco Ryans. So to reset, number 5, Jacksonville. Number 4, the Jets. Number 3, Indianapolis, here or there. Number 2, Sean Payton, the turd, and the Denver Broncos. And then number 1, Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson brings that slime season back to NRG. What do you want to see as the first game for DeMeco Ryans? Answer in the comments. Subscribe, like, follow along. Download the Odyssey app. Listen on Sports Radio 610, 10 to 2. We got you covered. It is the show of record, and this is the best place to follow the Texans digitally. A lot of love, though, for everyone else doing it. Texans content is picking up. It's getting very, very fun, and it would be very fun if DeMeco Ryans opened against Deshaun Watson. Again, the live stream cram session tonight. When would it make sense for the Texans, if ever, to draft Bijan Robinson? What does Crumpy think of the quarterbacks? Join me at 7 p.m. Central and ride along. Daily content here on here in the locker room and on Sports Radio 610. No matter what happens, though, no matter who the Texans open against, should be the Browns. We are all in this together.